Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Ideal purchases, exciting strikers, gamble strikers, unattainable strikers, and stay away from strikers. That is the topic of today's Chelsea tier list video. You can see the tiers here on the screen. I have gathered together 22 potential striker targets that Chelsea could indeed sign during this summer transfer window, and we are going to crack straight into it right now. But before we do that, I want to show you a video that I made almost 2 years ago. And as you can see here, some of the strikers on this list, if we were talking about these guys today, it would have been a bit of a disaster. For example, Alan Saint-Maximin, the man's never there. Memphis Depay. In the exciting category, an ideal purchase, I said, was Gianluca Scamacca, who, yes, he might have knocked out Liverpool in the Europa League, but it didn't go well for him at West Ham. And as you can see throughout that list, at the end of the day, time flies very quickly in football. That's all I'm going to say, and my ball knowledge is clearly not that great. So we move, first of all, to talk about Jonathan David of Lille, who I have stuck straight in to the exciting but category. The reason for this category is ideal purchase is, if I was Todd Bowley, I'm going to use these batteries as an example here. I'd be like, is the card, mate. Stick in whatever number you want. We need you. We want you. And I would say that Jonathan David, maybe not at the level of I will pay anything for him. I think Chelsea should break the bank for him. Fortunately, the transfer market value and all of the values of all of the players is from the website Transfermarkt today, just for continuity purposes. 50 million. 24 goals in 42 games this season for Lille, 7 assists in there as well. I do think the more I hear about this guy, and as you can see if I put this screen up right now, this was from 2 years ago, ideal purchase back then. I still think he's a top player, and I think this will be the summer that he moves, but he's not quite ideal for me. Moving in to Dusan Vlahovic, a striker who Chelsea were very close to signing apparently last summer. Dusan Vlahovic this season, 17 goals, 3 assists, has a transfer value of 65 million euros, 24 years of age. I think with Vlahovic, the issue would be with Pochettino's obvious training. It's very intense, it's very heavy. Chelsea have a massive injury record. We can't keep players fit. People are always injured. The more you bring in players that are massively injury prone, I think the more we will see players get injured. I genuinely think that's been an issue with some of the players we've already existingly bought in. And I think with Vlahovic, it would be the same problem. I think he's a good striker. I think he'd probably fit in quite well at Chelsea. But I would say he's a gamble for this video. Artem Dovbyk, I've also stuck in the gamble category. 26 years of age. This man is taking La Liga by storm this season, with 19 goals and 7 assists, with a transfer market value of 30 million euros from Girona. He's having an amazing season. Girona have been having such a great season in Spain. And this guy leading the line is big, he's strong, and I think there will be a lot of clubs after him. And I think the reason I've not put him in stay away or the exciting category is I'm not entirely sure how Dovbyk goes from playing at Girona, where there is such a defined way of playing, there's such a defined system, and it works, and he's the spearhead of that. I think going into a team like Chelsea, that clearly at the moment are still finding an identity, finding a style of play, I don't necessarily think the numbers that he's provided this season would directly translate into the Chelsea team, and that's what we're buying a striker for. We're buying a striker to score the goals, because as we saw at the weekend, Nicholas Jackson isn't quite ready to lead that line with conviction and confidence yet. We move into Victor Osimhen. Now, I have spoken at great lengths about Victor Osimhen. I have been such a massive advocate for Victor Osimhen joining Chelsea for so long. 2 years ago, he was the first person in the ideal purchase tier, and he's the first person in the ideal purchase tier again for 2024, the summer transfer window. The issue I have with Victor Osimhen is, yes, there is an injury track record there. He's 25 years old, and I think obviously being a Chelsea fan when he was younger, it's always nice, but we can not let ourselves get carried away, because that price tag is massive. What the 110 million value that you can see here on the graphic shows is not the reality. it would cost 130 million euros to get the release clause, from what I understand, from Napoli. Victor Osimhen would be so expensive, and he's been good this season, but again, it's not like he's improving on the previous season. He was much better last year for Napoli. But again, I still think he would be so great at Chelsea. The aerial presence, he can score all different types of goals. Phenomenal footballer, but maybe a bit too expensive. Thoughts in the comments down below. Lautaro Martinez, what a season this man is having for Inter Milan. 26 goals, 6 assists. It's such a huge price. And I think with Martinez, I think maybe a couple of years ago, this one might have been more likely. Maybe even last year, it could have been more likely. He just seems very settled now at Inter Milan. So for that reason, I've put him in the unattainable category. But what a player this guy's proven to be. I wasn't really a massive fan of him until this season. This season, he's been impressive. Moving into Lois Openda of RB Leipzig, scoring a lot of goals. 27 goals, 6 assists in 41 matches, 24 years of age. The Belgian striker is quick. He can finish in a variety of different ways. But having seen what happened when we bought a high goal scoring attacker from RB Leipzig, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm saying we don't go and make a similar mistake to what we've seen before. I'm not entirely sure size-wise if he's going to be strong enough up against Premier League defenders. Will that translate? For that reason, we are staying away. Harry Kane at Bayern Munich. Bayer Leverkusen have obviously just been crowned the Bundesliga champions. Sensational season for Xabi Alonso's men in Germany. Harry Kane goes to the Bundesliga and doesn't win the league. No one could have foreshadowed this. No one saw this coming. Bayern Munich are in the semi-finals of the Champions League under Thomas Tuchel. I've got a strong feeling that Bayern might actually win the Champions League this year. If Harry Kane wins the Champions League, would he then go back to England because he's won the Champions League? Or if he doesn't win the Champions League, does he go back to England anyway? I think Harry Kane for me would be such a dream signing. So as much as I think he probably won't leave Bayern this year, I think it will be at the end of next season. He'll try and win them the Bundesliga back for sure. I wanted to say it's unattainable because it probably is stupidly unattainable. But I just would love to see Harry Kane at Chelsea. In terms of Premier League goal scorers, he's iconic, he's elite, he's absolutely unbelievable. And in my opinion, the best striker in world football right now. Look at that record. 40 goals, 11 assists in 41 matches. 30 years of age. He's also a leader. I just think it'd be so perfect, but part of me thinks he'll end up back at Spurs. We move into Tammy Abraham, who has been pretty much non-existent this season. Unfortunately for him, it's in the stay away category. The release clause that we had to buy him back was available last summer. Now, I think Tammy is pretty much out of the equation. Moving in to Romelu Lukaku. Every time we do a Chelsea striker video, we've got to talk about Lukaku because he is still a Chelsea player. The rumours are at the moment that Roma cannot afford him. You look here, he's 30 years old, 18 goals, 4 assists this season. Transfermarkt have his value at 30 million euros. It's been a disaster. Romelu Lukaku, even still being a Chelsea player, is kind of agitating to me, even though he's not been around at the club. The rumours are at the moment that if Chelsea can't get their top targets, then maybe we can struggle to sell Lukaku. So as a result of that, we actually just give it another go. I'm going to stick with everything that I've said, no matter how well he's played this season at times for Roma. Stay away from Romelu Lukaku, please. Ivan Toney is the next striker. 4 goals and 1 assist since returning for Brentford. It was obviously like he announced himself back on the scene with a goal in his first game back. The talks were a few months ago that it was going to cost like 100 odd million if Chelsea or Arsenal or anyone were to buy Ivan Toney in January. Obviously, when the man hasn't been playing football for 8 months or whatever it was, nobody sniffed at that. No one sniffed at anything really in the January transfer window. Ivan Toney, 28 years old. I think if we'd have seen him score more and have been like, if he'd have reignited Brentford's season, then I think this would have ended up being more of an ideal purchase. But it's kind of been like, Yeah, he's had a couple of good games, scored a couple of good goals, but like it's exciting, but is it ideal? I don't know. I think obviously in terms of the frame and the kind of striker that he is, he's a target man. I think Chelsea need that. But I'm putting him in there with Jonathan David. Let me know your thoughts on Toney. I also think it's not ideal that he basically said he wanted to move to Liverpool or Arsenal. So as far as I'm aware, that isn't Chelsea. And I don't like it when players would rather go to other clubs. We move to Alexander Isak. There was some rumours that Newcastle were going to have to sell some players in order to comply with FFP. He's been incredible this season. Newcastle have kind of been up and down. Their form has been up and down. Whereas Alexander Isak has just been consistently brilliant all season long. Can also go over to the left-hand side. He's brilliant going into the channels. But then again, so is Nicholas Jackson. He's good at running into the channels. But Alexander Isak is a finisher. Alexander Isak in front of goal is clinical. But I would say that as an out-and-out striker, he's not quite that. I'm not sure physically if he's the kind of presence that Chelsea need. Maybe it's a bit too similar to that of Nicholas Jackson. I'm putting him in the exciting but category. Market value also there of 70 million euros. Would Newcastle sell to Chelsea? We move into Victor Boniface, who is obviously now a champion in Germany. 18 goals, 9 assists for the 28-year-old this season. 23 years of age, 40 million euros is the reported market value. If you're currently playing at Bayer Leverkusen, Xabi Alonso has confirmed that he's staying at Bayer Leverkusen next season. The Bayer Leverkusen, I think, CEO has already said that someone is going to have to leave this summer. It's probably not going to be Florian Wirtz. I'd have loved to put him in this video because he could easily be such a brilliant inside forward, I think, at Chelsea. But Victor Boniface, as an out-and-out striker, I think it would again be a gamble. He's obviously playing right now in a system that is just so well-oiled, so well-drilled. And it's a Bayer Leverkusen team where, as the striker, you're not actually expected or you don't have to be the player that has to keep scoring because you've got flipping Ronaldo as the left wing back. You've got Frimpong on the right. They're scoring double-figure goals, which is insane. These numbers are still fantastic, though. I'm just not sure if buying a striker from the Bundesliga, it's just not worked for us before. So I guess I'm a bit scarred by that. We move into Marcus Rashford, a player who potentially could be leaving Man United this summer. And there's always been a question like, what is Marcus Rashford's best position? Last season, he was unbelievable. This year, 8 goals and 4 assists in 40 matches for the 26-year-old. A market value here of 60 million euros. I do think with Rashford, you get a player who can be a fantastic finisher when he wants to be. And I kind of just feel as though it was such an amazing breakthrough at Manchester United. And they've been through so much turmoil since that, to be fair, that for Rashford, it's kind of just been like, maybe he feels a bit lost at Man United. Maybe he feels as though his career has never really gone where it should have gone because it was obviously such an explosion into the Premier League, and then United have just been awful, basically. I always look at Rashford, and whenever he plays against Chelsea, he's always very good. I just would stay away. I just think there's questions about his footballing attitude, and I just don't really think he's that great of a player anymore. And I don't think he's the goal scorer that Chelsea would need. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Dominic Solanke is another player that has been heavily touted for a big move this summer, and I do think he will probably leave Bournemouth. 20 goals, 3 assists, 37 games played this season. He's 26 years old. He was obviously formerly at Chelsea before he ends up at Liverpool. Don't know how that happened, but he's obviously a really, really good striker. But again, I just don't think it's going to work going back to Chelsea. Bournemouth are obviously playing a certain way under Iraola. He gets a lot of opportunities. He would also get a lot of opportunities at Chelsea. Maybe I've been unfair here. I'd say it potentially could be a gamble, but I'm just saying stay away because I don't think you go back to players that you once had before. We move into Serhou Guirassy, 28-year-old striker. Came out of nowhere, this bloke, this season for Stuttgart. 26 goals, 1 assist. 25 games this season. It is a phenomenal goal-scoring record. at Stuttgart. And again, I would say when you've got a record that good and the price is that good, also 40 million euros is nothing for a man if he's going to get you 25 goals a season. Bundesliga to the Premier League. It's not like, it doesn't fit like this. It's not like a glove. And I just think it would be a massive gamble. But Chelsea needs someone who's just going to keep putting the ball in the back of the flipping net. So, can't turn your nose up at it. For that kind of price, if you compare Osimhen, Harry Kane, we're talking 100+ million euros for this guy. Guirassy is scoring as many goals, almost. Half the price? I'm not sure he's an elite striker. I think he's just having a really good season. We move into a man who's been linked with Chelsea pretty heavily, Benjamin Cesko. The issue here is that he's 20 years old. There would obviously be massive pressure coming into Chelsea. It's not the best goal-scoring record this season. 14 goals, 2 assists in 37 games at the time of me recording this video. Benjamin Cesko, there's a release clause there also. It's around 42 million euros. So in terms of like splashing mega cash, this is a bit of a gamble, but not really. In terms of the price of strikers these days, Benjamin Cesko would be cheap. But I also think that one of the issues that we have with Jackson is that he's young. He's still developing. He's still nurturing and figuring out what his style is, the way he wants to play, and who he is as a striker. And I don't think it is beneficial for Chelsea to go and have two strikers that are still kind of trying to find their feet in the game. I think the whole purpose of buying a striker this summer should be to buy someone that Nicholas Jackson can learn from. I think it's been potentially a bit unfair. A lot of the criticism that's been sent Jackson's way has been valid, but a lot of it borderlines on the verge of abuse, which I just think is wrong. I think in yesterday's video I said about Jackson being a good player, but he's obviously not ready right now to lead the line. I think that's the best way to look at it. There's definitely some positive attributes for Nicholas Jackson, but I think with Cesko being 20 years old, it's kind of the same potential issue. Evan Ferguson. I've stuck him in unattainable because I think it should be unattainable. I think right now, Chelsea doing business with Brighton for a player that isn't really proven. He's 19 years old. I do think this guy is going to become a really good striker who will score lots of goals. But like, he's not scoring loads of goals. Like, there was a time earlier this season where Evan Ferguson was on the tip of everyone's tongue. Like, Chelsea were rumoured to be wanting to spend flipping 100 million quid on him. I just think right now, it would be such stupid business from Chelsea to try and buy this guy from Brighton, because I think it answers none of the current problems. So as much as I would say stay away, I think it's more unattainable because Brighton will be crazy when it comes to the price that they put on him. And I'd like to think that Chelsea won't be stupid enough to bite just yet. We move into Ollie Watkins. Look, Ollie Watkins is a phenomenal striker. 21 goals, 12 assists in 41 matches for Aston Villa this season. Potentially playing Champions League football next year. If I was Ollie Watkins, I'll be very, very honest right now. Honest, I almost said. I wouldn't go to Chelsea. If you're Ollie Watkins and you're the main man at Aston Villa, Unai Emery is your manager. He's getting the best out of you week after week. It's a team that is developing. It's a team that is fast. It's a team that's exciting. And it's a team that have overperformed this season. I would not be leaving with the Champions League coming up next year. Not for a team that potentially won't even make it to Europe. I'm going to say that Chelsea are going to get into the Europa League because I actually believe that we will. But Ollie Watkins, for me, it would be such a brilliant signing. I think it would be ideal. The man is proven in the Premier League. He's only 24, but he plays as a striker far superior to his years. I think he's absolutely fantastic. We move into a player that I absolutely love, guys. Darwin Nunes of Liverpool. Lots of stories that linked him to Chelsea last summer. Apparently, Chelsea were really interested in him. With Darwin Nunes, he's 24 years old, but I look at him as if he's even younger. I look at him as one of those players that's just so raw, who's still kind of figuring it out as a striker. The man just loves shooting, which I think is brilliant. And so many times, as a Chelsea fan, I look at some of our players and I'm just like, why don't you just shoot? And I think Darwin Nunes would solve that problem massively. And I think maybe at Liverpool, it's because they've got so many good attacking players. Maybe that explosion hasn't happened. But like, I guarantee you now, whether it is at Chelsea, if Chelsea sign him, or another Premier League club, or anywhere, even probably it's going to be at Liverpool. This guy explodes in the next 2 years. He absolutely explodes, and he's a 20 Premier League goal a season striker. I absolutely believe that. I think there's so much raw ability and fight in that guy, and I think it would be an exciting Chelsea signing. I'm not going to lie to you. Let me know your thoughts on him in the comments down below. Victor Gyokeres is the guy that I spoke about at length in yesterday's video. Like I said, very similar to that of Nicholas Jackson. Brilliant running into the channels, but he is a finisher, and his movement in and around the box is absolutely sensational. Yes, he's doing it at Sporting Lisbon. I read all of your comments in yesterday's video. A lot of you are saying stay away from the Portuguese league. It doesn't convert. There'd be a waiting period to get him used to Premier League football. I think even if you sign a Premier League proven striker, if it's a striker coming into Chelsea at the moment, until we really know the way that we're playing under Pochettino, yes, we have developed this season when it comes to going forward. We're scoring loads of goals, but we are also going to have to work defensively, which will change the way that we score loads of goals, because it can't be that we score 4 and concede 3 or 3, whatever, every game. So there's definitely going to be, for any striker that comes in, we've got to be a bit patient. But I do think the issue is that we have kind of been patient to the point of like stupid with some of the players that we've bought and expected to be goal scorers. This time we've just got to buy a goal scorer. We've got to get this right. And I think Victor Gyokeres at 25 years old would be a great signing for Chelsea. Eddie Nketiah. Probably going to get some of you thinking, why on earth is Eddie Nketiah in the video where you're talking about Victor Osimhen, Victor Gyokeres, Harry Kane, Ollie Watkins? Eddie Nketiah, 6 goals and 3 assists this season for Arsenal. It's not exactly setting the world on fire. And is it just Benson because Eddie Nketiah loves to play against Chelsea? Well, maybe by the time Arsenal play Chelsea at the Emirates, this will hold some truth. However, I'm going to say this. Eddie Nketiah, I think right now, is wasted at Arsenal, just sitting on the bench. I do think he is a much better forward than his Premier League minutes suggest. Do I think it would be a good signing for Chelsea? Would it answer our problems? Probably not, but I would say, depending on the kind of money that Arsenal would want for him, it's a gamble. Look, I'm not putting him in the ideal purchase category, and I'm not even saying exciting, but I would say Eddie Nketiah is a gamble. I know when you look at that category in there, you've got goal scorers, you've got Vlahovic, but like, it's definitely not unattainable. And I definitely wouldn't say stay away, because I genuinely think Eddie Nketiah is a good striker. Going to move on. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. The final option is Santiago Gimenez, one that a lot of people will talk about because he's obviously scoring so many goals in the Eredivisie this season for Feyenoord. It's been a weird league this year in the Netherlands. Ajax have basically disappeared off the face of planet Earth. It's between Feyenoord, PSV, and Gimenez has obviously scored so many goals, but he's still young. And I would say that to buy someone from the Eredivisie because they've had a good season there. We've also seen it with Hakim Ziyech. Didn't quite work for him at Chelsea. And I do think that step up in quality is just so massive that to expect someone who's scoring that many goals in the Netherlands, to expect that to translate immediately to English football, I think it would even be tough for him. Maybe in the Championship he'd score a fair amount, but like just that whole transition to English football would just be a lot. And I'm going to say stay away because I think it's too much of a gamble. And I would say it's a gamble that I wouldn't expect to pay off. So it's not in the gamble category. He's obviously not unattainable. Chelsea will be able to afford him. But I would say at this point, stay away. Let me know your thoughts on this striker tier list for the summer 2024 transfer window. Your thoughts in the comments down below. The ideal purchases have got Osimhen, Kane, Watkins, and Victor Gyokeres. And just below them, David, Toney, Isak, Cesko, and Darwin Nunes. But obviously your thoughts also matter in the comments down below. The next video here on GBFC will be my preview for Arsenal away. So stay tuned early morning UK time on match day for the preview. Subscribe if you are new. Come on, you Blues.